Lecture 3, God's Existence. God's existence is the most fundamental reality that apologetics defends as eminently reasonable to believe in. In this lecture, you will be introduced to a number of arguments from reason for the existence of God. We will begin with ways stemming from the physical world. This will be followed by ways stemming from the human person. While the Catechism of the Catholic Church refers not only to ways but also to proofs for the existence of God, it clarifies this terminology by adding that arguments for the existence of God are not to be understood in the sense of proofs in the natural sciences, but rather in the sense of converging and convincing arguments which allow us to attain certainty about the truth. 5 Ways of Aquinas. In his Summa Theologica, Aquinas presents 5 convergent ways, all of which indicate the high reasonableness of God's existence. Notice that these ways are like multiple roads that lead to and converge in one point, God's existence. When taken in isolation with one another, these indicators may seem weak, but when seen together, they provide ample evidence for God's existence. In his 5 ways, Aquinas argues for the existence of God from motion, from cause and effect, from possibility and necessity, from the gradation of being, and from design. The phrase, "nothing can give itself that which it does not have," can help to understand the first argument for motion. Nothing can go from being potentially in motion to being actually in motion unless it receives motion from another being. A marble in a state of rest can be put in motion, but only if it receives motion from outside of itself, from something in the state of motion. The ultimate first mover, who did not receive motion from any other source, since he is pure act. And this ultimate first mover is God. The second way from cause to effect is similar to the first. The following analogy helps to understand this argument. Unless there is a librarian with books to lend, no one can borrow a single book. The librarian and the books represent God, who as existence, as the first cause itself, who as pure act gives us existence and being by allowing us to borrow or participate in his being, his existence. We only have existence. We only have being. God, in contrast, is being, is existence. As being itself, what God is equivalent to that he is, to existence. God's essence is equivalent to that he is. What he is equivalent to that he is, his existence. In contrast, what we are, human beings, is not equivalent to that we are. For what we are can always potentially be more actualized. For example, by actualizing our knowledge by reading books we borrow from a library. Finally, Aquinas points out, it is not possible for efficient causes to go on for infinity, for to do so would eliminate causes that mediate the effects of the first cause. As he explains, now take away the cause is to take away the effect. In other words, explains Frank Sheed, it is not possible for there to be an infinite chain of receivers of existence, since this implies there's no ultimate giver. If everything is only a receiver, then how can anything be passed on since nothing has been given? The third way is from possibility and necessity. According to this argument, since nothing comes from nothing, there must be an absolutely necessary being who did not receive his existence from anything else since he is existence. This being is God who brought into existence all subsequent beings. These subsequent beings are all contingent, that means touching upon one another and other beings. The fourth way, and dependent on other beings. The fourth way is from the gradation of being. In nature, we see that that which has the maximum degree of intensity is the cause of that which has less intensity. For example, the sun is the cause of the various degrees of heat we feel. There must, therefore, be a being in which all perfections exist to their highest degree, and is the cause of all these perfections in their varying degrees. God is this being, who as pure act with no potentiality contains all perfections. The fifth way argues from intelligent design. The intelligent design in the universe points to an intelligent designer. It is less reasonable to claim that what we identify as a rational design, such as the periodic chart, is only due to chance. Furthermore, our concept of chance, points out Kreeft, is understood within the larger context of order. If I say that occurred by chance, I am doing so in order to indicate that it turned out in an unexpected manner, implying that there is an expected manner that it ought to have turned out. This reasoning applies to Darwin's theory of evolution, since the survival of the fittest presupposes the arrival of the fit. Below are in the transcript, I include Aquinas' 5 ways in his own words. Notice that all of these arguments proceed from the effects of God and not from the cause of the effects, since the existence of God, asserts Aquinas, is not self-evident to us. Additional ways from the physical world. The 5 ways of Aquinas and other similar ways are described by the Catechism of the Catholic Church as ways of approaching God from creation. Coming to the knowledge of God's existence by way of creation has, further explains the Catechism, a twofold point of departure, the physical world and the human person. Aquinas' 5 ways begin from the physical world. His ways may be supplemented by additional ways from the physical world and by ways from the human person. We will begin with the former. Contingency, the column argument, and the world as an interacting whole. Some other ways from the physical world include the following: contingency, the column argument, the world as an interacting whole, and miracles. As explained by Kreeft, the argument from contingency is as follows. If something exists, there must exist what it takes for that to exist. 2. The universe, the collection of beings in space and time, exists. Therefore, there must exist what it takes for the universe to exist. What it takes for the universe to exist cannot exist within the universe or be bounded by space and time. 5. Therefore, what it takes for the universe to exist must transcend both space and time. The column argument is similar to the contingency argument. This argument for God's existence originated from the medieval Arabic scholasticism. A modern formulation of the column argument by William L. Craig is as follows. 1. Everything that begins to exist has a cause of its existence. 2. The universe began to exist. 3. Therefore, the universe has a cause of its existence. Another similar argument is called by Kreeft as the world as an interacting whole. According to this argument, no part of the universe is self-sufficient, but depends on others, on the whole, for its existence. This means that since no part is self-sufficient, all the parts taken together as a whole cannot be self-sufficient, since nothing can give that which it does not have. The existence of the entire universe, therefore, must come from outside itself, and this ultimate cause we identify as God. Miracles. Finally, an argument that is not directly related to the just mentioned 3 directly interrelated arguments is from miracles. Since there is sufficient credible data supporting the occurrence of miracles, it is reasonable to maintain that their occurrence is due to God. For example, the International Medical Committee at Lourdes, France, has documented 69 credible miraculous cures that are not capable of being explained by modern science. The rigorous stages that an unexpected cure goes through before being declared as miracle by this committee are as follows. Stages of recognition, beginning with spontaneous and voluntary declarations made to the medical bureau by people who claim that they have been cured thanks to the intercession of Our Lady of Lourdes. The specialists of the International Medical Committee, during their meeting in Paris on 27-28 November, last decided to put in place the following 3 stages for examining files. 1. From the declared cure to the unexpected cure. All possible information is gathered from the person who believes they have received the grace of a cure by the medical officer of the medical bureau, who then proceeds with a primary evaluation to build up a file on the illness with the report on the current state of health to judge the person's personality in order to rule out trickery, acting, illusion, a possible hysterical or delirious pathology. To judge if this cure is clearly beyond the normal medical provisions of the illness in question. Note the circumstances of the cure itself, and to verify if it happened according to the extraordinary, unforeseen, striking, or remarkable conditions. Some of these declarations will be marked no follow-up, or pending, or registered as unexpected cure to be studied. The bishop of the diocese where the person claiming to be cured lives will be informed that this cure is the subject of an inquiry, and a doctor nominated by him can also be informed. Stage 2. From the unexpected cure to the confirmed cure. The files of the unexpected cures are studies to complete the authentication inquiry, which consists of a comparative study of the medical documents before and after the cure. This is to ensure that there was an indisputable change from a precise medical diagnosis of a known illness to a situation of restored health. They will also look to see if this cure shows signs of being completely out of character with the development of this illness. The opinion of a large number of professional specialists will be sought by a member of the CMIL before the file is presented to a gathering of the CMIL. In the end, the CMIL will classify the cure as no follow-up, or they will validate this cure which they feel has been thoroughly discussed and confirmed. Stage 3. Opinion for recognizing an unexpected cure. This is the final stage where the CMIL will affirm the exceptional character of a cure according to the present scientific knowledge. The file is then sent by the Bishop of Tarbes and Lourdes to the Bishop of the diocese where the person who was cured lives. The support of the Lambertini criteria will assure that the cure has been found complete and lasting from a serious illness, which is incurable or of an unfavorable prognosis, and that it happened in a sudden way. Ways from the human person. Ways to the knowledge of God's existence from the human person include human intelligence, the human sense of morality, and human desire. This section will conclude with the clever argument known as Pascal's wager. Human intelligence and the true. With respect to human intelligence, the following question has been raised. How is it possible for human beings to understand material processes that occur in the brain which do not understand themselves? How is it possible for human beings to perceive the material world in an intelligent manner when we are also material? Since nothing can give that which it does not have, in order for us to transcend physical processes to understand, it is reasonable to conclude that our intellects are in part immaterial. We are able to understand material processes that do not understand themselves because we are in part immaterial. If we rule out the chance, that chance is an unreasonable explanation of why there is an intelligible universe capable of being understood by intelligent minds, it is also reasonable to conclude that the intelligibility of the universe and our intellects are products of a creating intelligence we call God. With reference to abstraction, Aquinas explains how the immaterial aspects of our minds understand the intelligibility of the universe. As explained by the Dominican H.D. Gardet in his classic work on Thomistic metaphysics, there are various degrees of abstraction in which the intellect abstracts matter away. One way to begin understanding what Gardet means by abstraction is to etymologically define the term. Abstraction is made up of two Latin words, the prefix ab, which means away from, and the verb trahere. Literally, therefore, abstraction means drawing away from. What is being drawn away? That which is physical is being progressively drawn away from that which is immaterial. When I abstract, my mind strips away physical matter from an object in order to reveal its immaterial and universal aspects. The first degree of abstraction, physical, I only strip away some physical aspects, but not all. For example, if I'm thinking about the universal concept of dog, I've abstracted all characteristics that pertain only to Fido, my pet dog, color of his hair and eyes, etc., while leaving those physical characteristics that pertain to all dogs. A dog is a mammal who eats meat, etc. In the second degree of abstraction, mathematical, I might be looking at the nose of my dog Fido and think, wow, it's round. With the mathematical concept of roundness, I've removed all physical attributes from my pet dog Fido, while retaining only the concept of a circle that is applicable to all physical things. For all physical things, whether wood, cement, or dust, which can be made into a circular objects. In the third degree of abstraction, metaphysical, I abstract away even mathematical concepts that are understood in relationship to physical matter, but in a general way. For example, I might think to myself, Fido is a beautiful dog who is good, honest, and faithful. The terms good and honest and faithful can be understood to referring to realities that exist in some material reality, but not all, or do not exist in matter at all, since they exist in their highest form in God. This third and last degree of abstraction is called metaphysics, which in Greek means literally after the physical. Even atheists must rely on our immaterial ability to abstract. If atheists want to argue with logic that God does not exist, they need to do so by abstracting out immaterial logical laws from the material world. By so doing, they are accepting in practice the existence of immateriality that implies an immaterial creator who is God. Similarly, if an atheistic mathematician acknowledges that the idea of a perfect equilateral triangle exists in his mind, he is in practice accepting that his mind is in part immaterial, since a purely material mind cannot contain an immaterial object. By so doing, he is accepting the existence of immateriality that implies an immaterial creator who is God. Sense of morality and the good. Many atheists appeal to a universal standard by which to judge our actions. This universal moral standard, however, cannot be found in the material world. Where, then, does our moral sense originate from? If it comes from the material world, then how can it obligate an individual in a universal manner, since the material world, by being physical, is particular? After all, something greater, in this case morality, does not come from something less, the particularity of the physical world. It is reasonable to conclude, therefore, that the common sense of a universally obliging moral law comes from God, who is outside of the physical world. Desire for the infinite. St. Augustine wrote in his spiritual classics Confessions, "Our heart are restless until they rest in you." With this phrase, he expressed the common human experience of not being satisfied by any amount of what this world can offer us, whether this consists of money, power, pleasures, or honors. It seems that we are all born with a natural desire for an infinite reality that does not exist in this material, finite reality. Where does this desire come from? And since our experience is that our natural desires can be met by natural ends, why can't this fundamental desire be satisfied by a natural end? A reasonable answer is that we are not simply physical, but also spiritual. And the desire to be satisfied in an infinite manner can only be satisfied by that which is infinite goodness, who is God. Pascal's wager. According to what is known as Pascal's wager, it is risky to be an atheist and live in accordance with an atheistic moral view, which ultimately entails no universally binding moral law, since this cannot be found in the particular material world. This amoral position is risky to live by, since what happens if the atheist is mistaken, and after dying comes face to face with God whom he has repeatedly offended? For the sake of a brief moment of finite existence on earth, during which the atheist bet on God not existing, the atheist is now at risk of suffering eternally in hell. God bless.